you had mentioned Camp Mula.
Yeah.
And Camp Mula, you had the when you said how when you're in South Africa, they ask you about that little girl who sings, aka Karun. Not so little anymore. There's something that I saw. Karun, Saramitaro, again, just the band used to come up with these very crazy ideas.
Yeah.
So the Boxing Day project, Diana, Mayonde now, who you've also produced for.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's talk about first the Boxing Day project, because I can feel like we're entering into your production life now.
So the Boxing Day project was like, it was probably one of the final things just a band did. I was like a Christmas project. So you know the way TV used to have like Christmas, Christmas any music.
Yeah.
So we're like, let's make something, and then we ended up. That's how that came up. We called our friends. We did performances of our old songs. We did new songs, Christmas songs, and then it came out on the day after Boxing Day. We didn't think much of it, but also that's literally the precursor for a lot of things that are happening now.
Yep.
Where it's like those people want those live performances.
Now we have our very own Blinky Bill with a lovely rendition of Hey.
Kakuna mtu hii dunia na bahati ni mimi. Najua kila mtu taniuliza kwa nini. Manzi yangu bomba hata mesiamini. Staki road, staki race, staki pia kanini. Kushikwa nimeshikwa nikawekwa mfuko. Hakuna pickpocket hata nitoa huko. Ni mimi na yeye na mimi. Tuko pamoja kama mdomo ulimi. Amekuwa na mimi nikikaranga chumvi. Atakuwa na mimi nikianza kunona. Sijamuona leo lakini story ni hii. Tachukua simu yangu nimwambie hivi nitasema,
hey baby nataka kukuona, sura yako inafanya roho inapona. Hey kweli wewe ni malaika, hao wengine nawaita kadhalika. Hey baby nataka kukuona, sura yako inafanya roho inapona. Hey kweli wewe ni malaika, hao wengine nawaita.
And I liked Mbithi's humor in his hosting.
Exactly.
It was very
because that's literally
intentionally bored.
Those Christmas, and now we have.
Yeah, that was cool. Okay, so Chuchu is Jim is the first one to exit.
Yeah.
Just a band. That leaves now you, Mbithi, and Dan.
Yeah.
So, do you still continue like this now?
So,
and you are trying to find yourself, as you're saying.
A part of it was so many conversations were really tight in that way, but also I was like, man, I want to explore what I can do by myself, and I want, like, sometimes if you like, Just a Band is the house that we built, and we love it, but eventually I have to also account for myself.
Your own house.
My own house. I look at people like Q-Tip or Will.i.am or even Pharrell.
Actually, that's who to me you are. You're the Will.i.am.
Yeah.
You're the African Will.i.am.
It's like I feel like a good mix of those, like
the three guys you've just mentioned.
Three guys where like all of them are such big inspirations for me. But also, I guess from that thing I was talking about to Sinibo is I always want to have my own mark in the world, you know. And but also just play the game in a way that I'm proud of, and in a way that if I'm like, sometimes you look at someone's catalog and you'll be like, I can see where the pressure hit them to be like then I can look at a Kanye and be like, man, you can say you don't like Kanye's personality, but Kanye's work, bro, is like always knocking. What's the next door we can knock? What's the next
true.
barrier we can break down? And I'll listen to it. There's an interview I was listening to of his where he was talking about humans being always boxed in. Like, you're born and put in a crib, and that's the beginning of how people always tend to put you in boxes. And when you're in the womb, like, you're all around. I was just like, this guy, he's mad, but he's very clever. Anyway, so in terms of accounting for myself, I was like, okay, I need to stand on my own. And then I started applying for a bunch of things, trying to see what's my next university. And
what are the kind of things you're applying for?
I applied for music programs. I got into this one in the States called One Beat in 2013. I was just 25 musicians from around the world. And it was funny, for that one, I was like the substitute guy. You know, they have their 25 people.
Yeah.
And then there's you get the letter for in case one of them doesn't come. Yeah. It's you. I was like, mi nitaingia, mkifunga mlango nitaingia na dirisha, it's fine.
When I got the invitation letter to come, I was like, I jumped on the table in my house. So far it's been mind-blowing. I'm surrounded by a lot of really good musicians and people who are very passionate about music. I've just come from band practice right now. So good, so good. I'm coming from a continent that has struggle, but also has a lot of victory and a lot of positive things and a lot of forward-thinking minds. And so that's part of the narrative that I'm passionate about spreading about with the music. Right now, if you looked at what's going on in the continent, it's amazing. There's so much creativity that's blooming. I like that word, blooming, right in front of our eyes. The Bandaman tries to walk that thin line of being popular and semi-popular at the same time. And we also try to just make experimental music. Some people know about it, I think, but we also need the people who know about it to talk about it more, so that it gets heard. Because we've heard the music from almost everywhere else. Like in Nairobi, I hear the top 40 from the UK, the US, but it's like I don't know if the reverse is happening, where the rest of the world is listening to what's going on in Africa. And hopefully that happens, because it's important as well for us to tell our story in our own way. So I'm sure it will.
And then we got in. It was like just mind-blowing, and I'm seeing the work ethic of all these other guys from different places. Then I realized, man, maybe in Kenya we're a bit lazy in that sense. Like some people will do, you're really good, but you expect the work to be done by someone else for you. I was seeing people working till all night. People are working on music. So that was the first thing I got into. Then the next year.
So it was for a whole year?
No, it was for a month.
Okay.
So we were touring different parts of the States. So we started in North Carolina, I think. We started
as individual musicians now.
As individual musicians, but we form groups.
Yeah.
We make music. We perform every night in different places in the States. Like, this is tamu. That is again, that's a different music university for a month. Then made some really good friends in New York. Then came back. I think Kato and Mudhoni were also part of it the previous year. And Kato was always telling me, man, you need to apply for this thing.
Dude, I almost forgot. How can we almost forget this element about Just a Band? When you said Kato, it's just coming to my mind.
Yeah.
Coke Studio Africa.
Coke Studio Africa.
You guys were like the first...
On the first season.
On the first season of Coke Studio Africa.
Yeah.
As Just a Band.
As Just a Band.
Kiwashana, remadha, retaonja viba, remisina, tesiba, benko tukatika, just kiku, skiza stories are charity, nipe wings, need defy, gravity, sema oh, Jutuko wax musea, evacuate the area. Wax musea. Serikali haijali, so naona mbokali afadhali. Dema medamju, leo haikam na siwezi kumshow ati life ni exam tu. Tatikiwa sufuria, na hizo ni aibu ndogo ndogo misipendi. So nikikupita tao, jua sio madha, rao. Tuko wax musea. Evacuate the area. Tuko wax musea. Nipe nafasi nikoleze kiasi vile sisi hufanya pande hii ya the tracks. Hatuchezi na kazi, sipoteze wakati, tumekunja mashati oh. Tuko wax musea. Evacuate the area. Tuko wax musea. Tuko wax musea. Evacuate the area. Tuko wax musea.
It's been a long one, bruh. And I literally, honestly, just feel like I'm starting. And I say this
even with all you've done.
Even with all I've done, because again, don't forget that there's a lot of work that I've done that has been under the radar. Like the people who know.
Yeah.
But it's not public, nini. But also,
like people didn't know you had done the song with Octopizzo and Mudhoni. Yeah.
Like, but also this is like a part of it has been me just fighting for my space to be free. And sometimes when there's things that in all these things, there's been, for me as a person, there's been things that have been sent to me to keep me focused.
I get it.
And on the journey and fuel. So not really to be like, people don't know me, or neglected man. That's not the conversation. The conversation is
Iron
keep
prize,
going,
yeah.
and the prize. So we did that, came back.
So now, so okay, let's now it's back to the one beat that
One
that,
beat,
yeah.
one beat that was in performing in all these different venues in the States, learning a lot, then came back. And then the next year, applied for this thing called the Red Bull Music Academy, which is like, I think I was the first East African to ever get into it. And this, like every year they had like very progressive musicians from different countries going in. So in Africa we've had Black Coffee be a part of that. We had Cool Odi Song. We've had, in Kenya we have my protege, who's called Sichangi, was the second Kenyan to go into it. So it was kind of crazy, but also it made sense to me. But so we went to Tokyo for that, and the same year I got accepted as a TED fellow. So, and all of these things happened in the same month, which is weird that you can apply for two things, and exactly when one ends
is when the next
the next starts.
Yeah.
So TED was in Rio that year, so I went to Rio, was part of this thing at the TED Talks, and then.
So what happens at that TED Talks? Because you have spoken at TED Talks.
Yeah. So as a fellow, you go in, like you present an idea that the world needs to hear, that you're passionate about, and then also like TED just attracts a lot of individuals from different parts, like people who are the movers and shakers in their different fields. So you're like with astronauts, with ministers, with presidents, with all these kinds of people. And like literally I met this guy who's a musician, like, but he's a scientist, MIT scientist. And like we just chap our stories, we became good friends. He moved to Nairobi, he'd live here, and like all these things. Then last year he became the Minister of Education for Sierra Leone. So it's like my friend who comes to the studio, sends me beats. He is now the Minister of Education for Sierra. As like he's the youngest in that nini and super qualified.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that TED thing brought my way. It's like you are young. It's almost like having a tomboy type person who's your friend now, and you can see this guy is like, he's legit about the thing that he wants to do. It's not about the show. It's not about
the politics.
The politics. This is someone who is out there trying to figure out daily, how do we make the lives of the people better? And I think hopefully that's where we drive our politics towards one day, because it's exhausting, the kinds of
Converse. Yeah, we don't even have them. They're draining.
They're draining. But yeah, so that, like, literally I moved from Rio on a flight to Tokyo to meet with some of the most progressive musicians in the world, bruh. I'm just like, but that also, now what that did was it gave me that confidence for now. Like, I've learned all these things along the way, but Red Bull, around 10,000 people apply for that thing. They only choose 60.
Whoa.
Yeah. When I go into studio, I'm trying to make things that I care about. One of the things that I'm showing is how to mix up electronic sounds in a live setting, how to use computer sounds and synthesizers and all these things, but also still have a live vibe to it. It's just important to find that thing that makes you stand out and makes you original, and then share it. The future is going to be interesting. So that whole process just showed me, okay, I now know that I'm on the right path, I'm doing the right thing. Because now on a global scale,
they're still accepted.
I'm not trying to hawk ideas. They saw the idea, they're like, we want this guy from Kenya to come in. And so coming back from there, like everything that I've described, that was like, you know what, okay, it will not matter if everyone says backs me or doesn't back me. It's like now I know for sure that the path I've been put on is the right one.
And you know you're pioneering it, so it's not like you're looking at.
There's no reference in all these things we're talking about. There's no reference,
and it's so hard being the pioneer.
Yeah,
because you're the one paving way. Other people, like the guy you're saying who's gone after you to one beat, or is it the Tokyo or the Red Bull? He can call you and be like, "Hey, Blinky, this, that, you."
And he'll call me, and he calls me like all the, because he's like he helped me work on my last album, because he's super, like it's almost like having your kid in the industry who I can't do that for everyone, but I can see the people who we are like crazy like minded. I'll be like, oh, okay, come in, let's do some stuff. But in that sense, not having something to nini, but just
fumbling along the way,
and getting to these places. You just, that thing I was talking about where, you know what, just follow the art. It's the hardest thing, and I can't even tell everyone to do that.
Yeah,
because you also need to have the fortitude, the stamina for it. There's times when you don't have rent, be like, you have to know how to talk to your landlord to be like, I can't pay on this time, but I'm sure I can get something.
Yeah.
But those, not everyone is built like that. And you'll watch like The Last Dance or any of those things, and you can see some people know your story when everyone knows your story. Some people will support you when everyone supports you. There's people who will like be like, the way I was talking about Shiba Hast and Wangeshi, and like those guys will be like, we see it, we'll back you. So it's just understanding that there's different categories of people, and you shouldn't be trying to be needed with everyone. There's the people who get you and who will lift you. There's people who will dismiss you. There's people, like, there's all kinds of people.
Yeah, it's true.
And the art is difficult, bro. God. And it's doubly hard here. And not just for me, but because I've seen everyone who's gone before. Like,
yeah,
talking like K-South, man. I'm just like, why didn't K-South exist now? But they paved the way for us. Ogopa had to do the hard work for us. It's like Ted, like, and then you see the other guy who's like maintained Musyoka, and he's just like, Musyoka has just always done his thing.
Yeah,
and that's the thing with in all of these things. It's, you just have to keep going, whether you feel like you understood or not.
Okay, so you come back, then is that when now you're like, okay, let me enter this solo album project, or what happens?
When I came back,